All right, let's talk about a philosophy that sounds super straightforward, pragmatism. It's basically all about doing what works. Simple, right? But what happens when the thing that works best is also, well, wrong? That's what we're going to dig into.
And this is the core of it, isn't it? What do you do when the most effective, the most efficient path forward is also the one that feels kind of shady? Does pragmatism just become a fancy excuse for doing whatever it takes to get ahead? That's the big question we're going to unpack today.
So, to even start answering that, we have to get one thing really clear. In philosophy, words matter. And when a pragmatist says an idea works, they don't just mean it's easy or that it feels good right now. No, it's actually a much deeper concept than that.
And here's the key phrase, over the long term. A belief for an action really works only if it's a reliable guide that you can use to solve problems again and again. You know, that easy win today that causes a total disaster for you tomorrow? For a true pragmatist, that doesn't work. Not even close.
You can even see this with the founders of the whole idea, Charles Peirce and William James. They both totally agreed on this long-term view. Peirce, he was a scientist, so he was focused on ideas that stand up to tough questions from a whole community over time. But it's William James's definition that's so important for our conversation. He said something works if it helps you live a successful life. But then he added this killer line, in the long run and on the whole. That means you have to consider all the consequences, not just the obvious ones.
Okay, but let's be honest, that all sounds great in a textbook. A more, let's say, strategic realist might jump in here and go, look, that's cute, but in the real world, sometimes taking the shortcut, even the unethical one, is simply the most functional choice. And this is where things get really juicy.
And here's the argument, plain and simple. Imagine this. I've got tests on stuff I will literally never use again. The time it would take me to study has a horrible return on investment. I could be spending that time on something way more valuable. So I cheat. I get the grade, I save the time, and I move on. And if you look at it from a purely functional cost-benefit analysis of that single moment, the logic is, well, it's uncomfortably sound. And see, the strategic realist doesn't think of themselves as a bad person. They think they're being smart, being rational. They calculate the ROI, they look at the risk of getting caught, and if the reward is high and the risk is low, boom, the decision is made. It's a simple, tidy calculation in a closed system. The problem is, the world isn't a closed system.
And this is exactly where the classical pragmatist would say that the realist's math is just plain wrong. Their neat little calculation is missing some huge hidden variables. There are these massive costs to their functional decision that they are not putting on the balance sheet. So let's take a look at what they're missing.
The first hidden cost is character erosion. Every single time you take an unethical shortcut and get away with it, you're not just doing one thing, you're actually building a habit. The first time, it feels like a big deal, right? The second time is easier. By the 10th time, it's just what you do. You're training your brain to default to the shortcut, and you're slowly chipping away your own standards without even realizing it.
Second, there's what we can call psychological dishonesty. Even if nobody ever finds out, you will always know. Every success you get from cutting a corner has a little asterisk next to it in your own mind. And that eats away at your real self-confidence because deep down, you know you didn't really earn it. That's not imposter syndrome. That's actually being an imposter.
Third, and this is a big one, is the loss of social trust capital. Trust is like the invisible currency of our entire lives. It can take years, even decades, to build a good reputation, and you can destroy all of it in a single moment. The realist calculates the risk of getting caught for one little act, but completely ignores the catastrophic cost of losing everything if they do.
And finally, there's system collapse. The realist logic is all about me, me, me. What's in it for me? But what happens if everybody starts thinking that way? Well, the systems of trust that we all rely on just fall apart. If everyone cheats, a degree means nothing. If everyone lies, a contract is worthless. The very game they think they're so cleverly winning becomes unplayable for everybody, including them.
Now, there's another justification you hear a lot. It's this idea that, sure, yeah, rules are fine for average people, but I'm different. I'm smarter. I get it. I can bend the rules because I see the bigger picture. This is such a common and dangerous trap to fall into.
This brings up a really important difference between a true innovator and a shortcut seeker. A true innovator doesn't skip the rules. They master them so deeply they can find a better way. Their method is actually more disciplined, not less. The shortcut seeker just wants an easier way to get the prize. True superiority comes from rigor and discipline, not from trying to dodge it.
Okay, so if that simple cost-benefit analysis is totally flawed, what's the alternative? How do you actually make these tough calls in a way that is genuinely pragmatic, that really does work in the long run, without just turning into an opportunist? We need a better framework. We need a better playbook.
When you're facing a really hard decision, you have to challenge your own thinking. Because let's face it, your brain is a world-class expert at making up excuses. So, this red team method forces you to step outside your own head. The 5-year test checks for future regret. The external check gets an honest opinion from someone you trust. The universal test makes you think about the system-level impact, and just sleeping on it, that's your defense against making a purely emotional call in the heat of the moment.
You know, the absolute worst time to figure out where your moral lines are is when you're under pressure. The best time is right now, when you're calm and thinking clearly. What are your 3 to 5 non-negotiables? What are the lines you just will not cross, no matter what the supposed benefit is? You should actually write them down. Because when the pressure is on, your brain will try to convince you, oh, this time is different. Your hard rules are the anchor that reminds you that no, it isn't.
Now, this is a brilliant and really practical strategy from game theory called tit for tat. It's simple. Your default setting in life should always be cooperation. Be honest, assume good faith, act with integrity. That's how you build that incredibly valuable social trust capital. But, and this is key, you're not a sucker. If somebody takes advantage of you, if they lie or cheat, you adjust. You mirror their behavior to protect yourself. You always start with trust, but you demand that it's earned and maintained.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the toughest, objection of all, the nihilist argument. The idea that if there's no cosmic plan, no grand judge in the sky, no ultimate point to any of this, then why bother with any of these rules? Why not just do whatever you want?
And this is where pragmatism reveals its real genius. A pragmatist might actually agree with you. They might say, you know what, you're right. Maybe there is no grand cosmic meaning. But that doesn't matter, because pragmatism isn't concerned with the cosmic. It's concerned with the one thing we absolutely know is real: our own lived experience. Regret is real. Peace of mind is real. Self-respect is real. Those things matter a lot, no matter what the universe is or isn't doing.
So the real question isn't whether life has meaning. The real question is, within this potentially meaningless existence, what kind of experience do you want to have? You can choose to live a meaningless and clean life, one where you acted with integrity, and at the end of it all, you can look back with a sense of peace. Or you can choose a meaningless and dirty life, full of shortcuts and compromises, where you look back and just feel the weight of regret. Both might be cosmically insignificant, but the difference in how they feel, well, that's everything.
And that's the final thought that I want to leave you with. The absence of a cosmic scoreboard doesn't make the game pointless. It makes how you play the game the only thing that actually matters. The fact that this life, this experience, might be all we have, well, that doesn't make integrity less important. It makes it the most important thing in the world. Because what you build inside your own character, that's the only thing you ever truly own.